In the annals of the Catholic Church, some stories are whispered in hushed tones, deliberately erased from official records, yet impossible to ignore. One such story centers on Annibale della Genga, a man who would rise to become Pope Leo XII, the spiritual leader of millions. Long before he donned the papal tiara, della Genga's life was already tinged with rumors of scandal, desire, and betrayal. Among the most infamous allegations was an affair with the wife of a close friend. A scandal that, if proven true, would have been explosive, even by the turbulent standards of the 18th century church. This story is not merely about illicit romance. It is a tale of ambition, diplomacy, power, and the complex moral contradictions of a man destined to lead one of the world's most influential religious institutions. Stay with this story to uncover how a future pope, charming and politically astute, navigated a life of whispered secrets and public devotion, and how the church itself chose to turn a blind eye to preserve its image. Annibale della Genga was born in 1760 in a modest Italian family. From an early age, he displayed both intelligence and ambition, qualities that set him apart in a society deeply structured around rank, lineage, and clerical advancement. His education was rigorous, grounded in classical studies, theology, and the intricacies of canon law, a foundation that would serve him well in his future diplomatic assignments. Physically, della Genga was described as strikingly handsome, with an elegance that drew admiration from both peers and the wider social circles he encountered. Yet his charm, which would later enhance his diplomatic career, also laid the groundwork for controversy. Contemporary accounts hint at a young man who enjoyed attention and social engagements, someone capable of navigating both the austere expectations of the church and the vibrant, sometimes morally complex world beyond its walls. His early ecclesiastical appointments reflected his growing reputation. Ordination was only the beginning of a career marked by ambition, intellectual skill, and political acumen. But even at this stage, hints of personal indiscretion had begun to follow him, a shadow that would grow as he entered the international stage of the church. By the 1790s, della Genga's talents earned him significant assignments abroad. Appointed by Pope Pius VI as Archbishop of Tyre and Papal Nuncio to Cologne, he became a key representative of the Vatican in some of Europe's most politically charged courts. Over the next decade, he traversed Switzerland, Germany, and the Austro-Hungarian territories, a man of both faith and diplomacy. These years coincided with the upheavals of the French Revolutionary Wars, a period when Europe teetered on the brink of transformation. Della Genga participated in delicate peace missions, negotiated between conflicting states, and carried the church's voice to monarchs and generals alike. Among his most notable encounters was a personal audience with Napoleon Bonaparte, an experience that underscored his growing influence and prominence. Yet, despite his successes, whispers of personal scandal began to follow him across borders. Fellow diplomats and clerics remarked on his charm and the ease with which he captivated women. It was an era when appearance, reputation, and subtle influence were intertwined, and della Genga's reputation became a topic of quiet speculation. While his public role was one of devout service and political skill, his private life suggested a far more complex figure, a man capable of both strict discipline and indulgent pleasure. Among the most persistent rumors were claims of an affair with the wife of a Swiss guard, a man with whom della Genga reportedly shared a close friendship. Some contemporaries went further, suggesting he may have fathered illegitimate children. These were not trivial accusations in a time when clerical celibacy was strictly enforced, and the moral authority of the church rested on the perceived holiness of its leaders. Reports indicate that della Genga's charm and youthful allure made him a figure of fascination, particularly in the courts he frequented. His intelligence, charisma, and social skill allowed him to navigate complex social networks, but also exposed him to scrutiny. Colleagues noted the frequency with which women sought his company, a detail that, combined with his friendships with key figures like the Swiss Guard, fueled speculation. When these rumors reached Pope Pius VII, they could not be ignored. Della Genga was summoned to Rome, facing questions that would challenge both his reputation and his future within the church. He denied all accusations outright, admitting only that he had been close friends with the Guard, a relationship entirely innocent. He insisted. The Pope, after careful consideration, chose to drop the matter entirely, and the church officially never revisited the allegations. Despite the official closure, the shadow of scandal remained. In private correspondence and anecdotal accounts, Della Genga's reputation as a man of charm and potential moral ambiguity persisted. Whether the allegations were true is impossible to verify fully, yet they illustrate a key tension, the dissonance between public piety and private conduct that has recurred throughout the Church's history. If you're fascinated by these hidden stories from the Vatican, now is a perfect time to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Stories like this, of ambition, scandal, and power behind the sacred walls, are only the beginning of what we explore here. Keep watching to understand how a man with such a controversial past rose to become Pope Leo XII. The encounter with Pope Pius VII was pivotal. When Della Genga arrived in Rome, he was not yet a pope, but already a figure of immense promise within the Church. Pius VII's questioning was careful, yet firm. Allegations of adultery and illegitimate children were severe, but Della Genga remained composed, responding with plausible denials and emphasizing his innocence. He admitted only that his friendship with the Swiss Guard had been close and affectionate, leaving room for doubt, but avoiding confession. In the delicate politics of the Vatican, where reputation was as vital as doctrinal knowledge, such an answer sufficed. Pope Pius VII opted for discretion, formally closing the investigation and allowing Della Genga to continue his rise unimpeded. This decision had significant implications. It demonstrated the Church's willingness to protect promising clergy from scandal, particularly when their skills and influence were considered valuable. Yet it also reinforced the duality of Della Genga's life: publicly devout, privately surrounded by rumors of indiscretion. The tension between appearance and reality would follow him for decades. By 1823, Della Genga's career culminated in his election as Pope Leo XII. At age 63, he ascended to the papacy with decades of experience in diplomacy, administration, and church politics. His election reflected both the respect he commanded and the Church's recognition of his abilities. As Pope, Leo XII was known for his conservative and disciplined approach. He emphasized order, moral rigor, and adherence to church doctrine. Many of his policies sought to strengthen the institution and reinforce traditional values. Yet, the lingering whispers of his early life raised questions. Could a man once rumored to have broken the most sacred bonds truly lead the Church with moral authority? Historians have debated how or whether his personal past influenced his papacy. Some suggest that his strict enforcement of discipline reflected an awareness of his own flaws, a desire to overcompensate for youthful indiscretions. Others argue that his conservatism was simply a product of the era, unrelated to his private life. Regardless, Leo XII's papacy cannot be understood without acknowledging the complexity of the man behind the tiara. The story of Leo XII challenges conventional ideas about leadership, morality, and secrecy. It demonstrates how institutions often balance the tension between private flaws and public expectations, especially when a figure possesses exceptional talent or influence. The Vatican, by officially closing the investigation into Della Genga's alleged affair, preserved both the Church's image and his potential as a leader. Yet for modern observers, the narrative remains compelling precisely because of its ambiguity. Was Della Genga guilty of moral failings, or merely the subject of rumor and envy? Did the Church act wisely in prioritizing discretion, or did it allow a serious breach of trust to go unaddressed? These questions resonate beyond the historical case, touching on themes of power, secrecy, and human nature that remain relevant today. Leo XII's life reminds us that history is rarely simple. Behind the grandeur of the papacy, behind ritual and devotion, lie stories of ambition, desire, and moral complexity. These are the stories that illuminate the human dimension of institutions often regarded as infallible or monolithic. If this story fascinated you, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to uncover more hidden scandals and secrets from the Vatican. The tale of Annibale della Genga, the future Pope Leo XII, is a reminder that history is never purely black or white. Even those who rise to the highest offices are shaped by private choices, ambitions, and flaws. The line between sanctity and human imperfection is often thinner than we imagine. And sometimes, the most enduring stories are those the Church tried hardest to forget. As you consider the life of Leo XII, think about the hidden stories in history waiting to be discovered, the moral dilemmas faced by individuals and institutions alike, and the ways in which human nature continues to challenge even the most sacred of institutions.